and welcome to this episode of the Economic Times Cutting Try Stories, an initiative by ETH. I'm your host, Dimple Bajwa, and I bring to you conversations with business leaders where we discuss their professional and personal journeys, along with some other engaging topics. Cutting Try Stories is a platform that identifies leaders and brings out their traits, routines, and thought processes that make these leaders stand out in the industry across different sectors and verticals. And today I have been joined by a very special guest, a leader who has an experience spanning close to a quarter of a century in different facets of IT. Without further ado, let me now welcome Mr. Rajesh Dutta, CIO, Usha Martin Limited. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Dutta.
Thanks, Dimple. Thank you very much.
So, you started your career as a sales engineer with AIMIL Limited in 1997, after which there has been no stopping for you. You have worked with some big names, like Tata Tea Limited, Wipro Technologies, IBM, Ericsson, and Imami Agrotech Limited before you joined Usha Martin in June 2020. So before we start talking about your career and your journey in the industry, it would be great to hear from you about your early days, your days in school or college, where you learn the early life lessons. Can you recall of those early life lessons that have stayed on with you till date?
Okay, so let me just brief you my background. Actually, my dad was in Air Force. Okay, so he had a transferable job. So we actually moved from one place to another at a regular interval of time. So obviously, with this kind of culture in military culture, you have to adapt a different kind of environment. The school changes with period of time, the friend changes, and different cultural people, coming to the same school, and it's a cosmopolitan culture. So that has actually imbibed a lot of useful utilities that has come into in my framework, the adaptability. I would say that's the reason that I have made so many changes in different industries and adapted well and moved on. So that's a trait that I feel that everybody should be exposed to different kind of environment. Different places they should visit, different kind of people they should meet. The reactions they build up while meeting different kind of people is a very important factor for in anybody's career growth.
All right. So, Mr. Datta, switching gears here, I would now like you to take us through your professional journey. You've worked with some big names, changed
Yeah,
industries, and so how
yeah.
has this journey been for you?
Yeah, the journey was fascinating. I have never, planned as such, but yes, wherever I worked with due diligence, diligently, in fact, justifying the position for which I am working on and the organization I am working on. So I have a very simple policy that wherever I work, I give it back to the organization. So that is what is I have worked throughout. Starting from the sales onwards, sales, then switching to IT. Initial days was sales. So I didn't like the sales job initially because it was just college pass out. I wanted to venture out to IT, something, in-house job, or, I can meet various other people also. In sales job, it was there. But in IT, a lot of thinking processes there and all that. So at that point of time, I thought, let's move to IT. And IT was booming at that time in 2000, and I moved from AML to, I think, Tata Tea, Computer Exchange, which is an small IT organization to start with. And then I gained a lot of experience there. I learned a lot of techniques there. A lot of trainings has been important to me in IT. And then I moved on to Tata Tea. I stayed there for 6 years, 6.5 years rather, and made a lot of transformation journeys there. It's a manufacturing setup, and the organization was willing to invest a lot of in IT, especially in ERP, SAP, and all that in infrastructure. So a lot of learnings, a lot of this thing. So there I became a group resource, Tata group resource there because of my contribution to that organization. Then I thought of moving out to see the other side of other part of the organizations, rather the services side, consulting side, I would say. Then I joined Wipro Technologies. There I worked in SAP practice there, and a lot of certifications, growth, and all that was there. Then I moved to IBM, followed by Ericsson for 5 years. And again, I thought that I had a plan that I should come back to the industries again, from services to industries. I would like to give it back whatever I have learned in services part in industry also, so that I can apply those thought processes, the processes, all those stuffs can be put in place in industry side. And then I switched my career to Imami as a man, it's a FMCG company, and there are a lot of transformation journeys that we have gone through, starting from cloud adoption to email systems migrations, setting up networks. A lot of things are there. So all these things as per the roadmap. And after that, I joined Usha Martin in 2020 as a CIO here, and we have a wonderful journey ahead also in this organization also. That's a plan. Yeah.
Right. So you talked about, starting with sales and then moving to IT and then to the services side and then again coming back to the industry.
Correct.
How difficult or easy was it for you to, adjust to the new role or to the new industry?
As I mentioned in my first conversation itself, the adaptability is the key actually. Okay, which has got into me while I was in childhood because of my dad's work profile. We have to adapt to various places, various schools. That's the reason that it becomes very easy for me to adapt in any kind of situations. Okay, right from if I go to a client side, my posture would be different. When I come back to the industry side, the postures would be different. The stakeholders are different. You have to understand each and every, because you have stakeholders down the lane and your group in your team members. You have upward stakeholders, external stakeholders. So basically, adapting all this, understanding the organization's DNA becomes a very key for for any of the person to excel in his career.
Right, right. So you joined Usha Martin amid the global pandemic. So here,
Correct.
since you have already told us, that adaptability is the key, but did it also help you when you joined Usha Martin? I mean, during these unprecedented times, was it the same, or I mean, how difficult or easy was you to join Usha Martin, to start your role at Usha Martin?
Yeah, so when I joined Usha Martin, the pandemic had just started. The lockdown has just started. So obviously, people were having a lot of they were not able to understand what's going to happen. In fact, it was all across. Okay, but I made a thoughtful decision that the role is very challenging and the organization is good. Okay, if you have confidence that you can adapt anywhere, any circumstances, you can adapt. So that was a thought process in my mind. Yes, and one point of time I was thinking that what is going to happen, because nobody was clear at that point of time. Over the entire world was not clear. But it was very smooth. Once I get into it, you understand. And also since I worked in services organization and work from home was common there. So when you come back to industry and start working from from home and starting a career in the industry side, where this cultural shift was actually happening. In fact, I told them that in the entire organization that this works in there in the services industry and this will work here also. Okay, and it eventually happened. There is a cultural shift that has happened in the industry. People are 70% workforce now they work from home in the pandemic situation. And now things are coming back to the new normal. The way people are working is now in a new normal way, right? So that is what is.
Right, right. Mr. Datta, you're a leader in your domain. I would now like to know about the people management skills and the leadership traits and skills, that you picked on the way during your journey.
Yeah, so the people man, see, all along in my service industry, I was a people manager there. So it came within me. And also, I was fortunate enough to, part of Ericsson, where they started their journey. Ericsson started their journey in Calcutta, and they built a global delivery center there, and I was part of it. So for 5 years, I saw how this particular organization grew, and how the best people practices they have brought in. And as I mentioned in my earlier conversation, that even your team is your stakeholders. So a leader is without any team, the leader is nothing. Okay, if you see any of the cricketing fraternity or anywhere, the team decides the leadership style actually. Okay, and I believe in that, and I value that, and team building is the biggest asset for any of the leader to be more successful.
Right. So, any leadership traits or qualities that you would want your team to inherit from you?
Uh, y- One thing I always tell to my team is you have to be very calm while taking any decision, and because your thought process should be very cool and calm. Otherwise, you will not be taking the correct decision. Okay, it should not be instinctive. Okay, any mails or anything that comes in which is annoying you, you should not respond back quickly. You should think it over and then take your time, understand the situation, and then you respond. So that's the way actually you should look at, and also count on your words, because words are nothing but it makes and breaks. Okay, I mean any team member, if I say some harsh words, it will break the thing. So that's the same learning I pass on to my all my team members. You have to be well disciplined, as well as you have to. Your words are very important. You have to understand what you are saying and what your communication. Communication is very important at all levels.
Right, right. I
Yeah,
think very rightly said. It's very important to watch your words. And moving forward, 2020 has been a year of immense learnings, crisis, job insecurities, changes in lifestyle, etc. What changes, according
correct.
to you, will stay around for long? And what changes do you think have been positive from a business perspective?
If you see the industry side, there is a cultural shift that has happened. The way of working has changed. The mindset of legacy has gone a bit. People have not started believing that, with the help of technology, even physical presence is not required until unless there is a manufacturing unit or plant where the physical presence is required a bit. But most of the things can be executed remotely. So that is what a cultural shift of which I can see. Even people are post pandemic, when the pandemic has come down, people coming to the office, they are still using Teams, or any other Zoom or anything within the office itself. So the adoption rate has come up. The technology adoption rate has gone up within the industry, and in fact, those organizations who are very much reluctant to invest in IT has given a thought that yes, without this, it's not going to move on. So they are now gearing it up to invest more in IT, and that is what is happening in this side of the world. Yeah.
Right, right. I think we're all getting used to this cultural shift. And so, Mr. Datta, can you share two or three things, that you did during lockdown that you normally didn't do pre-COVID times?
Come again. I didn't get you.
Can you share two or three things, or maybe two or three activities that you indulged in during lockdown that you did not indulge in during the
Okay.
pre-COVID times?
Lockdown, yes, I spent a lot of time with my family. Okay, that was one aspect. Another thing is that if you spend more time with your family, obviously, your style of working will change. You maybe I have cooked a lot during this lockdown period. Helped a lot of household activities that I never used to do in my earlier days. That was good. And also I had to take calls at nights also, because I'm available 24 by 7 during that period of time. So that are the areas that, and I spend a lot of time with my kids also, which is good for, and work life balance was good. that was a good that was a good part. Yeah.
It's amazing to know that, Mr. Datta. And that was my last question to you. With that, we come to the end of this Cutting Chai interview. It was great interacting with you and getting to know you. Thank you for answering all my questions. We got some really good insights into your personal and professional journey. It was truly an amazing interaction with you, Mr. Datta.
Thank you. Thank you.